People often ask us, hey, what is Dave Cooper Live all about? Well, it's about you. It's about the people in and around the AEC community who want to build better buildings, build better homes, deliver a better product. The built environment accounts for 40% of carbon emissions. Construction costs continue to rise, housing affordability continues to decline, regulations become more complex, homelessness is a global problem. On Dave Cooper Live, we are bringing market awareness for those working hard to advance methods of construction, improve the process, making it easier for those to build better homes and building. And today is no different. Please welcome our guest today, Tom Hardiman, pushing on many fronts to make it better for builders and manufacturers, as well as the homeowners and building occupants. Tom Hardiman is a member and manager of Hardiman-Williams LLC, an association management company providing services to various nonprofit organizations. He is the executive director of Modular Building Institute, better known as MBI, and co-owner and co-founder of the Offsite Construction Expo. How does his role in these organizations help us build it better, educate the consumer, and bring market awareness to modular construction and the global response to events around the world? Well, you're going to have to join us in just a few moments to find out. But first, we are not able to deliver all of these informative conversations without our sponsors. So a quick shout out to Carson Holmquist and the team at Stream Logistics. They are experts in high-stake freight that are the perfect choice for projects with timelines and a specific delivery sequence, shipments with high complexity and unique constraints. They offer new methods of construction, and the new methods of construction need new transportation solutions, and they are up for the challenge. Go to www.streamlogistics.com and make sure you tell them Dave Cooper Live sent you. They are doing it much better than anybody has ever done logistics before. Also, we want to thank Combi. Combi is the largest global manufacturer of multi-directional forklifts and straddle carriers, an acknowledged leader in long load handling solutions, offering a free warehouse and site optimization design service. More than 50,000 Combi units have been sold in over 85 countries since Combi was established in 1998. You need to go check out Combi as well. Again, thank you to our sponsors. We cannot do this. We cannot bring on all these amazing guests, to include Tom Hardiman, without sponsors like you helping us do so. All right, so without further ado, let's hop into it. Tom Hardiman, what's happening, my friend?
Hey, Dave. How are you doing today?
Man, dude, I'm doing amazing. I'm doing amazing. The sun's out. World of Modular's coming up. There's all kinds of great events happening. Tom, why don't you take about 15, 20 seconds? I'm just kidding. Why don't you take about a minute, minute and a half, tell everybody a little bit about who you are, what you do for those that are not familiar with you, and then we're going to jump right into it. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you. And I think you covered a lot of that in that intro, so I appreciate that. I'm the executive director of the Modular Building Institute, MBI. Have been for about 18 years now. MBI is the International Trade Association for the modular construction industry. Since about 2012, I'm also the executive director of the Modular Home Builders Association, MHBA, which is the trade association for the modular home industry. And as you mentioned in your intro, my partner and I, Stephen Williams, started the Offsite Construction Expos in 2015, and we've done about 13 or 14 of those events so far. We have 3 more this year to do. So
Wow.
Thank you for letting me share that.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, it's so important that we come together. It's so important that we collaborate. You have spent so much time, putting these events together, bringing the industry together, not just here in the United States, but now you guys are also in Europe, and you're doing a lot in Europe as well with those modular manufacturers over there. So let's talk about education and consumers and bringing market awareness to modular construction. I mean, first and foremost, that's what the industry, that's what your companies are all about. That's what the Modular Home Building Institute's about, MHBA is about. Why don't you tell us from your perspective, how you guys are bringing market awareness to everybody?
Sure, and thanks again. Through the 2 trade associations we run, one of the primary goals is marketing and outreach, and that takes a lot of shapes and forms. Primarily on the residential side, we're trying to reach out to code officials and regulatory agencies anyone that's been in this industry, it knows that the regulations can really start eating into your time and your budget and your margins. So our goal day in and day out is to build those relationships with those code officials, those state administrative agencies, and try to avoid this death from 1,000 paper cuts that our builders go through. We're trying to push back on some of this government bureaucracy and let people build. So that's a primary audience. The other thing we do is a lot of these events that you mentioned. Bring people together, share best practices, share industry data, bring in speakers from all over the world. And we'll talk about that in a minute, I'm sure. But we've got some amazing people in this industry, and often our companies get a little too focused on their own project and they don't step back to see what's happening in the industry. And that's what we try to do, is give them a moment to pause, step back and see what's happening globally in our industry. And there's some amazing stuff happening right now.
Yeah, there sure is. With the global initiative that you guys have taken on over the last couple of years, how is the industry looking from your perspective? Is it growing in the right direction? Are we able to get enough people involved to really make significant change from the codes perspective, as well as getting the consumer educated on why they need a better product?
Yeah, it's interesting trying to run a global trade association. It has its challenges, especially when you're doing it from a single office in Charlottesville, Virginia. We don't have any state chapters or any chapters outside of the U.S. for that matter. But we have about 25 members in Europe now, and we created these advisory councils. So we've got a European Advisory Council, and we get together usually quarterly, but lately it's been a little more often with a lot of the events that are happening in Ukraine. And we have events there and find out what do our members in Europe need from MBI? How do we help them get engaged in feeling like they're a part of this group that is maybe often viewed as a North American association? We've got a council in South America that we launched a few years ago. So we're growing through these councils and memberships, but there's a lot more companies out there that we'd like to have on board with us. So please check us out if you're interested.
Yeah. And before we jump further into this, I want everybody to understand that, without the associations, it's next to impossible to have change happen. It's impossible to get new codes in our favor. It's impossible to be protected from bad codes or bad decisions that are being put out there. And I really want people to understand, on Dave Cooper Live, we support the association. Tom works along with the National Association of Home Builders and so many others out there to really make change happen. So if you're not involved, you're wrong. You need to get involved. It really makes a difference in driving this industry forward. And believe it or not, you have a say. And I think
yeah, huge. And that's one thing I want to kind of reiterate what you just said is we are a small enough industry that anyone that gets involved in our committees or just shares their opinions with us, it has a big influence on the direction that we steer this ship. Day in and day out, I've got a government affairs guy. I see the work behind the scenes that he does, and maybe it's not headline grabbing every time, but every day it's just incremental progress towards making a state program a little better, or helping a member whose project might be stuck in some bureaucratic, quagmire somewhere. So that's kind of what we do every day, is just really help members get their projects through a lot of this red tape.
Yeah. And you guys are lobbying in Washington and elsewhere. It's not just, helping the individual builder. You're also helping the entire industry, have a bigger magnifying glass on it, so to speak.
Absolutely. We're currently involved. We've been working on state programs and trying to make those better in Washington State, Michigan, New York, Colorado, Maryland, Virginia. We've got some activity there. So anywhere we can go in and think we can improve upon the existing program, we're going to have that conversation.
Yeah, for sure. All right, listen, everybody, if you're just joining us, we got Tom Hardiman on with us today. We are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. So get your tweets on if you're not out there tweeting already. And make sure you pound that like button here during the conversation. And if you're not following MBI, if you're not following Tom Hardiman, make sure you go and follow everything that they are doing so you can stay up to date on what's happening in the industry. All right, Tom, let's get into this here. 2022 Modular Home Buyer's Guide. Had to ask you about this. What
Sure.
in the world is a modular home buyer's guide, and how does it work for me as the consumer or as the builder?
What in the world's a modular home? That's the question we sometimes get asked. Yeah, so MHBA, the Modular Home Builders Association, our audience really is potential home builder. And very often they're not very well versed in what modular construction is, the advantages, the benefits. We all know it because we live and breathe it. So we put this guide together, very simple, basic guide with some articles and resources and lots of pictures, floor plans, just saying, what is a modular home? What will it cost? How do I find a good modular builder in my area? Here's some sample floor plans. Here's some sample kitchens. Just a tool for anyone to go onto the website, download it for free, learn a little bit more about what you're interested in terms of a home, and then reach out to one of our builders.
Yeah, and I think that's it. It helps cut through the red tape and the misunderstandings of what a modular home is what I'm hearing you say. It basically lets people know that it doesn't have to look like a box. It's built like any other home is built under the same codes. It's just the process in which we put it together, right?
Absolutely.
It drives me nuts, Tom. We're the only industry that hasn't changed in over 100 years. It makes absolutely no sense to me that it's taken so long for people to catch on to this, and it's just horrible. I drove by a job site the other day, in each building, and they were small, had 30-yard dumpsters filled to the top, all the way across. And I don't know if you know it, I'm doing a new show with Jerry coming up. We haven't announced it yet, and we haven't really scheduled it yet. It's going to be dumpster diving with Dave and Jerry McCahey, and we're going to just start throwing stuff out and putting dollar symbols on it as people watch their money, in the dumpster. But
yeah, it's not a very sustainable process,
No.
financially or environmentally.
No, for sure. All right, Tom, what is the Modular Home Builders Association Consumer Awareness Program?
So really, that's just a mechanism that we are trying to get all the members of the association, the manufacturer members, to help share in the cost of promoting the industry, which is going to be good for them in the long run. So we ask each of our manufacturers to contribute $10 per floor or per module that they manufacture for the single family market. Send that to us, and we literally run a marketing campaign from those funds. So it's a co-op industry marketing plan, kind of like the Got Milk and the Go RVing, but on a much smaller scale because we're a much smaller organization. But it's a way that companies can share their resources, and we can do some higher level marketing about the industry, such as putting out, consumer guide, a buyer's guide, I should say, and Google ads, Facebook ads, all those things that you need to do to get out there. We use this collective pool of money from these manufacturers, and there's about 15 of them now that contribute to this consumer awareness fund.
Sure. And so, I mean, the fund's been around for a while. What do we need to do to get more manufacturers to contribute to this? Because you're absolutely right. We need a Got Milk. We need it. We need consumer awareness. I always say, Tom, it's the pharmaceutical industry, right? When they took away sending doctors on vacations and paying for their big trips, they turned to the consumer and said, hey, tell your doctor you want our little blue pill. It'll make you much more satisfied, right? So it's kind of the same thing. How do we get that type of awareness in our industry going?
Kind of the same thing without all those bad side effects.
Yeah.
Within the pharmacy. We are a membership-based organization, and that's kind of step one. Is there's a lot of companies in this industry that still are not members of, whether it's our organization or if they're panelized. There's SIPA and Structural Building Components Association. There's industry trade associations that do this work for the betterment of all of our segments. And I would encourage anyone, whatever niche you're in the offsite arena, support one or more of those trade associations. So you got to become a member. That's the bare minimum. Support the government affairs efforts, the overall marketing efforts. And Dave, I hear it every day. well, you're not doing anything in my region, so why should I join? Or you're not doing anything. I build for these 3 counties and you're not doing anything here, so why should? That's understandable, but that is a very short-sighted view of how to grow the industry. And we all should put something back into the industry to help grow, to help make it healthier. I believe that with any industry, not just ours, but you need to support the trade or professional organizations that you're involved in. And then once you're in, we've got, half of our manufacturers support it, the other half don't. And they see, it's kind of like, well, I don't need the marketing, Tom, which is
right.
Okay. We're trying to educate the general consumer. So we think it's a worthwhile cause.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to really see big change, I mean, we just can't wait for every recession in the world to hit us so we grow a little bit more, because that's kind of what happens, it seems like, right?
Right.
And we're not far probably from another one with everything in the world happening. So, this is the perfect time to support it and get awareness out there, because as we all know, even in our industry, things do go up and down. And the more consumer awareness there is out there, that means the more opportunity for market share on those down times that we have as an industry to keep food on our tables and feed their families and so on and so forth. So, all right, Tom, we got a couple other things to cover here. Modular Industry Regulatory Relief Fund. And let me just throw a caveat here. I'm running through these specifically because people need to understand what it is you're working on a regular basis. It's not just, hey, support me, I'm Tom Hardiman, and these are our events. There's regulatory issues happening, there's code changes happening, and there's bringing people together in collaboration. So go ahead.
Yeah, so this is really on the MBI side, the more the commercial side, and this is our Mbi Seals program, our labeling program. It's been in existence for 20 years. It's just that it's people still don't quite understand what it's for. Similar to the residential consumer awareness program, on the Mbi side, we ask our manufacturers to literally purchase a seal or a label, $20 each. That goes into this fund, this war chest. Regulatory relief fund. We regularly have to hire lobbyists and consultants and attorneys for this industry, and it's hard to do that out of our normal operating budget. We have staff and overhead and rent and utilities to cover with our membership dues, so we need this fund. We have a lobbyist right now on retainer in New York. We've had attorneys file legal cases for us in California to prevent the spread of prevailing wage back into the factory. And if you've hired a lobbyist recently, they're not cheap. They're not inexpensive, not if they're good. So we regularly have to supplement our staff, if you will, with attorneys and code consultants and lobbyists in various states, and that's where these funds come from. We've had to dip into that fund a good bit over the last few years. So we want to make sure we replenish it and keep it always to where we'd hate to have a crisis somewhere and say, oh, well, we can't afford to hire, professional help in that region because there's no money left in the bank.
Yeah.
So we want to keep ahead of that curve. We've killed a bill in New York State for the last 3 years now, which would have eliminated anything over 6 stories modular in New York City. It would have killed it because you would have been, multifamily commercial.
Yeah.
You would have had to have a New York City licensed plumber, electrician, and sprinkler fitter in your factory, continuously supervising the work, no matter where your factory was.
Wow.
So that's just a no-go. And it was a push by organized labor. And they know that it's going to prevent you from even bidding on work in New York City. That was the intent. So we've killed that bill for the last 2 years. It's pending again this year. And we have a lobbyist, and we're paying this lobbyist, and she's very good. But again, it's A, support the association by becoming a member, and then B, if you can, contribute to this relief fund.
Yeah, to support it. Are you seeing the commercial side of modular grow faster than the residential side, or is it kind of neck and neck?
I think so. Yeah. And in particular, it's the multifamily piece.
Yeah.
It's 5 years ago, it was virtually nobody was building multifamily and modular. It was kind of onesie twosies. Mm-hmm. A few years ago, it was 7% of all factory output. Last year it was 20%, or 2 years ago it was 20%. I just finished the numbers this year, and it's about 23% of all factory output is multifamily. That is our fastest growing and now our largest market for modular construction in North America is multifamily. That's skyrocketing, and I don't see that slowing down anytime soon, given our housing problems that we have as U.S. and Canada. Well, globally, really.
It is global. It is global. All right. So one more thing before we get into World of Modular. You know, Tom, this whole crisis happening across the pond over in Ukraine and Poland, it's affecting so many of the members over there, whether they're in Ukraine or around and about. It's amazing the amount of time and effort that they're all putting into assisting. I know that you guys have gotten involved as well. As you know, we kind of got hit with some things at the very onset of this, you know, doing some work with Operation Triage. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this? Is the other benefits of being a member. We can help each other out. Tell us what you guys have been working on.
Yeah, and we, our industry, I think, maybe better than any other industry, can really respond quickly in a time of crisis.
Yeah.
We saw that during COVID. There was massive space needs for healthcare and, you know, just literally triage type facilities. Obviously with Russia, you know, invading Ukraine, all the refugees fleeing largely into Poland. We almost always see this similar pattern. Everyone wants to jump in and help. Everyone wants to do something, but they don't really know what to do. So, you know, our recommendation has always been, initially, the best thing you can do is make a donation to one of these existing nonprofits that do work in these areas, that have the boots on the ground, whether it's Red Cross or, you know, we partnered with Offsite Alliance in the UK, and we're raising money right now for the United Nations Human Rights Council. They're the organization that deals with refugee crisis, and this is a big one. So we thought, let's initially put money there. We had a call with our European members last week, and we're talking about a couple of things. One is we've got some manufacturer members there, one of whom has 10 modular homes, kind of, I would call them not unlike a tiny home. And we're trying to find ways, maybe we can raise money, purchase those 10 units. They're in Krakow, just a couple hours away. It's certainly not going to solve the crisis, but it could house, you know, 50 or 60 people.
Yeah.
That would be something quick that our industry could do, is get some housing that's already built in place to shelter some of these refugees. And then another initiative in that is, can we get some even used modular units donated? My understanding is Moldova, which is more on the south, I guess, southwest side of Ukraine. Not a lot of attention being paid there, but still a lot of refugees coming in. But most of the focus is going towards Poland, so they're really struggling with the influx of refugees. So maybe we can get some used modular buildings in there that these NGOs can use, for shelter or medical facilities or whatever. Really, though, if everyone's been watching this on the news, it's terrible, absolutely terrible what's going on. And I'm just feel blessed that we're sitting here able to, bitch and moan about high gas prices. And that's the worst of our, worries.
Right.
When I think everyone should be doing a little bit more. And by rallying our troops in Europe, we can say, what is it that you guys want? You're on the front lines. How can we help? Whether that's money or buildings or whatever that may be. And then I know, Dave, you're working with that Operation Triage to get supplies into Ukraine, which is amazing.
Yeah, we've been able to set up green routes all the way into Ukraine, and we're working with Christoph Dros, IQ Module is one of his companies over there. I don't know, is Michael Doroshenko is in Ukraine. They're in Kyiv City. That's Dervis Modular Workspaces. And that's how they reached out. And I'll be sharing this week. Michael has been having people that are there fighting and helping, I should say, and people that work at Dervis Modular and Dervis Design. They've been sending us videos, asking and showing everybody. So we're going to be sharing those. And Tom will share them with you as well, because it's not a matter of what organization you get involved or donate. It's just help out, right? It's all going to it. I do know with our organization, 100% of everything goes to the people in need. And Krzysztof Dros over there in Poland was nice enough to connect us with the Polish Karate Federation. It's a
Yeah.
global thing, but they're a nonprofit as well, and so it's been great. And we know that there's a lot of integrity with those organizations as well. So, all right,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
We
I
talked
appreciate.
to, I talked to Evelina Spekowitz from
Oh yeah,
DMD Modular
sure.
just last week. And she about made me cry 2 or 3 times while I was talking to her. But it's phenomenal what these neighboring countries are doing, just
Yeah.
opening the doors. I think she said they've taken in 50 refugees, but among their employees,
Yeah.
they're kind of slammed. Her father's going to the train station every day and just picking up
Right.
people that just arrive. They just arrive with no plan.
Yeah.
So it's
They are.
it's heartbreaking for sure, but maybe as an industry, I think I'm kind of envisioning, how do we build? There's going to be some massive temporary housing in place
Right.
very soon, and I think we're one of the only industries that can deliver on that.
Oh, 100%. There's nobody else that can mass produce as quickly as we can mass produce, and it's temporary housing that can be permanent as well.
Right,
It's not temporary housing. It's going to end up in a landfill or a dumpster like FEMA trailers and
right.
and some of the older ways that we're still doing it. So, all right, Tom, we got a few more minutes left here. Let's talk about the big show. All right, we got World of Modular. Last time I was at a World of Modular event, it was in Florida, and right before COVID hit. And I have to tell you, I fell in love with the lady on stilts. I fell in love with the event in general. We just had a great time. It was very well produced, and I think one of the best shows yet that I've seen from your organization or anybody's for that matter. I think it was the best show I've been to. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what's happening at World of Modular, and I'll pull up the website so people can see where it's at.
Excellent. Yeah, we are so excited. We're back in person this year. 2021, we had to do a digital conference, and it went well. We had 1,300 participants, which was the most we've ever had for any event, but it was digital. So, it missed a little something. This year, we're in San Antonio, beautiful resort. Hopefully the weather will be nice. You've got the dates there on the screen, April 28th, 25th through the 28th.
Yep.
For me, this is our big event. This is our hallmark event. MBI's World of Modular. It's 4 days really of networking, sharing of best practices, great keynote speakers. You saw Anibal Basu there, the economist. It's going to be really interesting to hear from economists this year. But what makes him so great is he understands our industry very well, and he's entertaining, which is not something you say about economists very often.
No, I agree. He is entertaining.
Yeah, so it's fun.
Yeah.
We have packaged this in a way, and we've done this. Like I said, I've been here for 18 years. My partner that primarily runs the event has been doing it for 22 years. So each year we try and tweak it and make it better and learn from the past practices. We've got a great convention planner, Amanda Rowe, who's done this for about 5 years now. So behind the scenes, we work on this for months to get it to where these 4 days are just the members come there, great speakers, great networking. There are literally CEOs all over the place. Jim McGeever is one of our speakers. He's the new CEO of Silver Creek, but he used to be the CEO of Oracle. So it'll be interesting to hear his take on what's similar and what's different between these industries. Tons of breakout sessions.
Oh, yeah.
We try to load this thing up. The other thing that I'll say this, there are a lot of conferences now. When 5 years ago, we were kind of the only game in town, and modular, it's very popular now. So there are multiple conferences. Ours is the only one. 100% of the money you pay for this is staying in our industry. It's going to be reinvested back into the industry for marketing and advocacy and all those things we talked about.
Right.
And some of these other shows, they're good shows, but it's going to a conference planner, that money. And with ours, you're kind of all in. Once you're there, the receptions, the dinners, the breakfast, everybody's all in. The exhibitors are all in. There's no, we don't lock the exhibitors in a room and say, you're not allowed to come to the dinner or the receptions. It's one, I hate to use the cliche, but it feels like a big family. And it's going to feel that way this year because we haven't seen each other in a couple of years. So
So I don't need the right colored peacock ribbon hanging off my badge to get into an education.
Yeah, the big long, past president, Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
all those things. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. All
Yeah.
right,
So it should be a good show. Our only concern is, we booked this venue probably 5 years ago, and it's a little smaller, a little more intimate, and highly likely we're going to sell out. So, and I'm not just saying that to say if you want to come, you better sign up this week, but you better, because I think we're at 800 now. Once we hit 900 to 1,000, we're probably going to have to say digital only.
Right.
So if you want to come.
Can I come, Tom? Can I come and cover your event?
I told you to ask my marketing guy these questions.
See,
I don't know the details. I'm high level, Dave. I'm high level.
Oh, come on. I'll make you look really good, Tom.
I just walk around and talk to people. That's my job at the conference.
Let's go. Go ahead.
I said, I've got a great team in place that does all the hard work behind the scenes. And they're like, here you go, Tom, go talk to people.
Yeah, not always.
Alone.
Not always. It wasn't always that way.
No.
Wasn't always that. All right, Jordy Putchinger. Can't overstate how excited our team is for World of Modular this year. Happy to see Tom on the show. What's happening?
Thank you, Jordy.
Yeah, Jordy and their new ERP solution. I mean, it's that, Moducore is doing amazing stuff in the modular space these days. So look at his hair. How can you not like a guy with a hairdo like that? Look at him. He's a mad scientist. This guy.
Very jealous of the hair.
He's a mad scientist. All right, Paul Beretta, what's happening, Paul? Hi to Tom
Paul.
Hardiman from Maryland. Good to see you, Paul. Paul, you going to be at World of Modular? All right. Ryan Bish, hello, Tom, from Western PA. Good to see you. Ooh, look, we got a window manufacturer, Penn. Hi, Tom, from Penn. Milch Windows, good to see you. Oh, yeah, look at this. Here's somebody that just took off time from being beyond busy because they have their manufacturing to do, but they're also dealing with the crisis in Poland. Christoph Dros. Hi, Tom. Hi, Dave from Gdansk, Poland. Christoph, put in the notes. How many people have you guys taken in so far? We'd love to hear from you. Definitely put it in the notes. I think people have to realize that you guys have opened up hotels to accept people and given them rooms. And you're driving to the border, and you guys are driving into Ukraine to deliver supplies. So everybody knows this is the gentleman, Christoph, that we've been working with.
Yeah, Dave, I don't think you can understate. I told it to Evelina last week. The people in Poland are just heroes to me. I mean, they're just the things they're doing to save lives. It's just amazing. Christoph's right there, literally on the front line.
Yeah, he literally on the front line and over it.
Yeah,
and over it.
Yeah.
So hopefully it stays where it is too, and they contain this. All right, without getting into politics, let's say hi to George Ryman. Good morning from non-daylight time participating Phoenix, Arizona. What's happening, George? It's always good to see you. Ah, there you go. Michael Bruce from Gulf Shores, AL. Hey, Tom, need some 3D scanning?
Maybe I can go down the Gulf Shores and talk to him.
I know. Okay, he's just chilling out in his beach chair, Tom. It's probably snowing where you're at.
It did yesterday, yes.
Yeah. Oh, here you go. Carson Holmquist. How can you not do business with this guy? Carson and Stream Logistics is one of our sponsors. And like I said, when you bring young people into our industry, you get better results. We have people that are now coming in, bringing technology. They're using drones. They're tracking drivers, vehicles all across the country. You know where your project is every step of the way with these guys. And Tom, I know it's kind of like you. We don't take on anybody that isn't building it better or doing it better as a sponsor on this show. So
yeah, I think we met the guys from Stream at our Denver Offsite Expo last year. Great company.
Super great. What's happening, John Magnan? Good to see you both, he says. Good to see you. All right, all the way from the top of the National Association of Home Builders, Mr. Greg Ugaldi. What's happening? Dave and Jen, nice work with Tom. He always does well. There you go. Good to see you, Greg. I hope you are doing well. Let's see what we got here going on. We got a bunch of comments. Glad to see the Modular Homebuyer's Guide in publication. Very useful and will help create more interest in modular constructed homes. I agree with that.
Hope so.
I agree. We got Buzz coming in. Fappy, Michigan Monday. Fappy, Michigan. Must be snowing up there. Break out your snowmobiles.
Everyone seems happy today.
Yeah. Are you? They are happy. You know this young guy here, Mateo?
I do. He will be presenting at our conference. Yeah, amazing things they're doing as well.
Okay, this goes back to my 25 and unders. Think about it. Him and his brother are 25 less. They got
Yeah,
hair, Tom.
lots of it.
They got
Yeah,
hair.
that's going to be a great breakout session. Just young people that are like, hey, I've seen this industry, I understand it. I think I could improve upon it. I want to try something different, and then he goes out and does it.
Yep.
So it's amazing.
It is. It is amazing. All right. Paul Barreto says, what innovations are you seeing in residential modular construction, Tom?
Hey, the last guy you just showed. Um, what I would like to see more of, and I think we're starting to see some of it, is um, I don't know if I'd describe it as innovation, but greater efficiency in the factories, even more focus on material waste reduction and sustainability. I think we do a much better job than the site build industry, and frankly, I don't even think we're trying that hard. But I think we could just hyper focus on. There's a lot of talk about net zero energy homes. We're pretty close to being able to deliver net zero waste,
Yeah.
as well. Like to see some of that. We're seeing some companies that are using more in terms of robotics, but still that's seems to be some one-offs here and there. Industrialized construction processes.
Right.
I think we're still, as long as we've all been in the industry, it still very much seems like an industry that is evolving right before our very eyes. New companies coming in, which is always exciting. Dave mentioned some of these young guys coming in thinking, I'm going to step it up a notch and raise the bar. So that's always a sign of a healthy industry.
Yeah. How about stepping it up like 10, 15, 20 notches? We can really raise the bar.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, Mateo had a question. What could a smaller modular company like Boxy do to contribute in Ukraine? We'd love to fill containers with kits to send or something like that. Tom, I'll let you have the first stab at that.
Mateo, that's a great question, and thank you for offering that. It's so challenging though, because you have to deal with the logistics and shipping
Right.
A container there, and who do you ship it to? And there's so many pieces of this. And again, what we found is, and I hate to say this, when we had the big hurricane in Haiti, that was a nightmare because you didn't know who to work with.
Yeah.
We had all these people that wanted to donate buildings and stuff, but we, on the other end, we're like, do they even have a government in place? Right. Who can accept this on their end and be responsible for getting it out to the right people? So that's where I think we found much more luck working with existing NGOs and charities, like a Red Cross, and saying, hey, if we ship you a building full of supplies, where do we ship it? Can you get it to the people that need it before we start asking for a lot of donations? We've got to have those logistics and those channels, like you did with Operation Triage. You don't want to just ship a bunch of stuff right to the border and then not know what to do with it.
Well, and you got to watch out. I mean, you just don't take stuff and ship it. I mean, there's legalities involved when you're doing this stuff.
It can get messy. And on the other hand, you can't wait for our government to solve this problem because they're just too slow. Our government in the U.S. will be talking about aid for the next 6 months, and then they might ship something, and it's just too slow.
For sure.
But you got to make sure we don't want to waste a donation and have it sitting somewhere and not used. Right. I think the short term is financial support, probably to an existing nonprofit, be that the Operation Triage that Dave's working on, or that UNHRC that we've started with. I would say that rather than shipping supplies, unless you're shipping it directly to one of those nonprofits.
And and Mateo, you and your brother, I mean, you're really in a startup phase, right? And I get that money's tight. You may have product material. If you can't do money, you can't do product. Become a megaphone. Share the information, put it out there, encourage people to support it. Be part of the organizations that have been put in place to actually donate the product, because we need that as well. We need as many people to look at it, because there are people out there that do have the financial means, are already established, and so forth. So if I'm you, and shipping is, I agree with Tom, I don't think that's the right thing to do, but I do think that financial, or for your instance, I think being young, a megaphone and sharing what Tom's putting out, sharing what we put out, and asking people every time you see it to contribute or help, that's a great way to contribute, and it really means a lot. I appreciate that question.
Yeah.
All right.
It's good.
Christoph says, we have to unite to make a difference and get significant help. Thank you guys for your support. And just so you know, everybody, Christoph's on the show Wednesday, and we were going to be inside his modular manufacturing. Not sure if that's still happening with everything going on. We were going to do some live walkthroughs of some of their facilities over there. And they're not just in modular. They're in shipbuilding and elsewhere, too. So they do quite a lot of stuff, but make sure you tune in. But you're absolutely right. We have to unite to make a difference. For sure. All right, Ryan gives us a thumbs up. Let me look. So far, Christoph, they've taken in 308 refugees and over 500 got to Gdansk, if I'm saying that right. Bart has taken 308 to a hotel and over 500 we helped the Karate Federation with transport and accommodation. So
that's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome. All right, everybody, listen. Yep, we're at 1:45. Tom, is there anything you want to leave us with? You want to just reiterate the time and schedule to get your game on if you're going to head to World of Modular and let everybody know how many seats are left?
Yeah. So literally, about 100 in-person registrations we can take, maybe 200 if we can reconfigure some things. So if you want to come, and I would suggest if you're in the modular construction industry, new or veteran, this is the longest running, largest, and best modular show out there. And I can say that with confidence because my team's been putting it on for years and I see all the hard work they do. It's just the best show to go to. Plus the resort's beautiful. You're going to have some fun. There's going to be some networking. If you want to play golf, you can play golf. It's just a great event. And
Yep.
It would be hard to leave there without making some good business contacts. If you left and you didn't make any good business contacts, then you stayed in your room the whole time or something because you didn't come to the show.
Well, that's right. And people like Christoph from Poland, they all come to the show. It's a global event. It's not just people from the United States. You will meet people globally. It's a great opportunity, whether you are a supplier, a vendor, or a modular manufacturer, consultant. There's tons of opportunity for you at these events. I've been to it, and I agree.
2 quick presentations. The engineer from the tallest modular building in Europe, in England, will be there, Michael Huff. POSCO, the company in South Korea that built the Olympic Village, is a relocatable steel 4-story hotel for the athletes. Reconfiguring that, they're going to be there talking about that whole project. So there's just some really innovative, large projects that you'll have a chance to talk to the engineers on how did you do that? What were the challenges? So this is your opportunity to learn from some people that have built some pretty amazing projects.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. All right, Tom, appreciate you very much. Thank you for joining us today. Don't go anywhere. I'll come right back to you here in just a few. For everybody else out there, Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, we're going to have IQ Module on. Christoph Dros will be joining us. And as always, we will also be doing our BS Friday show with Mark, Bare Naked Willie. Stay tuned for that. And looks like we might be heading back to Europe. We're getting asked to come over there and do some more world tours. So hopefully this whole thing in Ukraine dies down and people get back to a normal way of life outside of that. Tom, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate everything you do for the industry and MBI and MHBA and all the events. We need it. We need more collaboration. If you're not involved, you need to get involved now. Our time is here. We need to drive it home. It's a better way of building. Appreciate you, Tom.
All right. Thanks for having me, Dave.
All right, everybody. Stay right there, Tom. Everybody else, we'll see you Wednesday. Bye now.